All right, y'all, I'm going to try to get through this one, but this is probably one of the hardest topics I've had to go over with, so bear with me here. One of the tenets of this channel is fatherhood, and I've done a few videos on this. We've talked about this subject on our channel before. I think it's really important that we harp on the tenets of fatherhood on this channel, because there's a lot that goes against dads out there. There's a lot of forces out there that make men seem buffoonish or incapable of being parents, of being equal parents, or being fathers, or anything like that. So we really want to emphasize this point on this channel. And I'll be honest with you, since July 4th, I've been in my feels about the entire thing that happened out in Texas, all the flooding and everything that's going on. And it's been hitting me really hard, some of the stories that's come out of there. And I'm not personally affected by this. I don't know anyone out there. I don't, nobody I know that's out there. No, there's no family of mine that has been affected. Although one of the victims in the Camp Mystic flooding was from Alabama, but and I don't know that family. I don't have any real connection to the tragedy. But what does bother me is that, a couple of the big stories that I've heard, one of which was the Camp Mystic story, and how that cabin, the Bubble Inn, succumbed to flooding, and then all of the camp counselors that were there, the camp counselors that are still missing or have been found, the children that were swept away, all of just the stories that are coming out of that are completely heart-wrenching to me as a dad. And there's even stories of heroism and attempted heroism. I know in that particular instance, the owner of the camp tried to go out there and try to save those girls, but he was swept away by the flooding as well. And as a dad of a young girl, and as a dad of a young boy, I don't know what I would do if I got a call like that one day. I don't know how I would react. My initial reaction to this is that if I would have done my due diligence and research to make sure that they had safety plans in place, and apparently they did. They knew, they had an action plan, they had all these other things that were set up. This is what I'm reading in the news. They had action plans, they had a what-if plan, but no one was prepared for a flood of this devastation or this magnitude in the management out there. Say what you want to about it, but I don't think anyone meaningfully, I don't think anyone meant for this to happen the way that it did. Hearing the stories out of what happened over the Bubble Inn and what happened at the twins cabin, the two cabins that were the closest to the flooding, they're heart-wrenching as a dad. And me personally, I think if my daughter had been in one of those cabins, I would have moved heaven and earth to go find her, or to have gone down there and tried to save her. And I have no doubt about, I would either save her or meet my end while trying. And I think that most guys that are watching this channel would pretty much agree with me. If your child was there, if your child was one of the ones affected, you would have jumped in head first too. And I just, without hesitation, with zero hesitation. I know I wouldn't have. I would have saw what needed to be done and tried. And there's other stories that are coming out of this A story, there's countless stories that have been published about the Camp Mystic. And it's getting a lot of national attention because it was a camp full of girls. But just upstream from there, or downstream, or whichever way that the Guadalupe rolls, or flows rather, there's another camp for boys. La Jolla, La Junta, I'll put the name here. But there was another camp for boys. And I don't know that there was I don't know if there was loss of life at that one, but certainly a harrowing experience over there as well, with a number of boys that were being threatened by the floodwaters. But there's another heart-wrenching story that just got published in another publication that I read. I think it's a Texas magazine or something of that nature, but it was a story of a riverfront house that was owned by a family, and they had all gone down there for the July 4th weekend for Independence Day to hang out on the river. And as was tradition for them, I guess they had a tradition of going out to the river and hanging out at the river house. And this house was one of those big river houses that was built to withstand a flood. This house was built up on stilts. It was prepared. It was ready, and as the evening went on, the water kept rising and rising and rising. And, that it even said in that story, if I remember correctly, that the house was engineered for a 100-year flood, that they had built it that high on purpose to avoid, that particular situation. And what happened next is absolutely, again, heart-wrenching. The way that the story reads is that the water kept rising, kept rising, kept rising. They called 911. Nobody could get to them. This is a family of 7 that was out there in this house. They kept holding out hope for someone to come, and the water kept rising. It tore off the deck. It lifted the house, and the house was no longer on the stilts and started washing away, and then hit a clump of cypress trees and just disintegrated. Most of the family survived. Not all of them did. And it's hard for me to talk about because my 2 are about that age. And I can't imagine what going through something like that. But the 2 youngest in that house was a 4-year-old girl and a 22-month-old boy. And the author is one of the family members, isn't the dad or the mom or anyone like that, but the author that wrote this article said that when the house disintegrated around them, because that's essentially what happened to that house, but when the house disintegrated around them, that he remembers seeing the mom of the kids. She's got the kids on the counter in the kitchen, and she's trying to calm them down. She's sitting there, she's got both of them seated on the counter in the kitchen. Say what you want to about what people should have known or should have prepared for or what have you, but yeah, when all this is going down, they don't know what's about to happen next. So nobody's around this mama and these 2 kids. And the author tells the story of how when the house disintegrated, he remembers flashes of certain things. And he remembers the water, hearing the water run in. He remembers the girl screaming. He remembers the little boy coughing. I guess I got to go back and say that the 2 kids that are on this countertop, one is a 4-year-old girl, and the other one is a 22-month-old toddler. And mama's there with them. And the author tells a story about hearing the coffin, the boy coughing and the girl screaming, and the house just falls apart. They're all plunged down in the water. And the little boy's gone. The mom grabs the 4-year-old girl, and they eventually find a tree, and there's a harrowing, the rest of the story, the way it reads, it's a harrowing story of survival, of clinging to a tree for dear life, having that one break apart underneath you and trying to go to another one, all while grabbing a hold of this 4-year-old girl and holding this 4-year-old girl. And that mama held on for dear life to save that girl and to save herself, and fought through cold and exposure and all that. And she was able to save her girl. You know, you read this story and you hold out hope that at the end of the story, oh, the kid was recovered, and you know that there's a happy ending to this story. But you read the story and it goes on that, you know, there was a reunification center, and the family gave the information about the missing boy to the reunification center, and they get a call. And they go down to this funeral home over there in Caryville. And they have to make an identification. It's a 22-month-old baby. He can't swim. And I go back to mine. I go back in my mind to mine. My heart is breaking for all these people out in Texas. This family and many other families that are not getting happy endings to their stories. Now, I don't know anything. I'm just a YouTuber who makes videos about motorcycles. I don't know anything about any of this. And as the days and the weeks go on, we're going to find out just how bad this gets. You know, it's the day I'm recording this, it's July 13th, 2025. And the toll is still going up. There's still more people reported missing. There's still more people being found. The numbers keep going up. So, if you're watching this video and you're just in the same position that I'm in, you don't know what to do, you feel powerless to help, and you knew that if you were there, you would have done something about it, that you would have tried to do something about it. I feel that way. And I know there's many more guys and gals out there that feel that way too. I'm not here to preach religion or anything like that, but if you're religious, pray. You know, if you're not, think about these folks. Remember these families, because they're going to need help. They're going to need help from their communities. They're going to need help from their religious community. They're going to need help to process this and get by, not just financial help, and that's important too. You know, I know Cajun Navy's out there. They're doing a lot of good stuff. They need help. Salvation Army's out there. They're trying to help. They need resources. The money part is important. It absolutely is. But these folks are going to need more than just that. They're going to need support and love. And they're going to need help understanding how to move forward in their life. Because I'm telling you right now, if something like that happened to my family, I'd need help. There's some dads out there that are hurting. They're really hurting. And we need to love on them. No, everything's not okay right now. I understand that. Not everything is not okay. It's the furthest from being okay. But we got you. I'm like I said, I'm just a YouTuber. I don't know anything, but all you men out there, all you dads and fathers out there that are hurting, that have lost someone, or someone's been injured, or someone's been lost, I'm praying for y'all, and I'm thinking of y'all. I don't know what can be done from my perspective. I had a plan to go right out to the hill country and do some riding out at the end of this month, and I may yet do it because not all of the areas down there have been affected, and I know that this is just a strip of area around the Guadalupe that was affected. So greater, out towards the out in the rest of the hill country, I don't think it's been affected that much. I'm going to do some more checking into that to make sure. But just like I said with North Carolina, when they flooded, I said before that when the doors open back up, y'all, we need to go down there. We need to patronize some businesses. We need to go out there and do the tourism thing and all that. We need to do that here. This area out in the hill country, there's a lot of camping that goes on out there. There's a lot of outdoor recreation. We need to continue to patronize those businesses, spend our tourism dollars there as soon as they're ready to let us back in. If I can go, if it's still open, some of those areas are still open for me to go, I'll go down there and do my part and spend some money down there. But like I said, these are the things that we can do to help, to let these folks know that we're not, that there are people out there around this country that are thinking of them, and around the world that are thinking of them. And y'all keep them in your prayers, because they're going to need it. Anyhow, these are just my thoughts. Thank y'all for watching. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.